No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you, I know to me that's just the way it is.
Boom.
Biddly bo. Yes, yeah. Here we go. There ain't nobody down around here. You know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here to move back to get his greatness in. Got a few shout outs to do from the underlap last night. Appreciate every which one of you. If you could keep liking and subscribing to the channel, guys, it really does help the algorithm and all that stuff, and we can spread the word. Shout out to Sean Rooney, Ming, Roller Blunt, CH, Pat Dunn, Mark Bradley, MVG. He's got that £1 million pedigree with them perfect puppies. Shout out to Solanum, Linianum, Nick Ahmed, 78 RPM, and BMG for no reason at all. Got a little bit to rattle through. Quick shit vid. How's everybody's Friday going? What's everybody up to this weekend? Obviously, there's no football on. England beat Wales last night quite comfortably. We watched the game to some extent last night. Rodon got in a bit of stick. I seem to have like a horn on the back of my head. Rodon got in loads of stick, but from the 4 or 5 minutes of the game I watched, every time I looked up, obviously we were live at the time, every time I looked up, he was just making a challenge or something. So I don't know whether he had a stinker or something at some point, but it seemed like it were typical Rodon to me in that scenario. I want to discuss David Batty. He's come up in a headline, which is very unusual, but it's just interesting. Obviously, there's not a lot to talk about in the news. So obviously, they're coming up with these articles now. Well, I once spoke to Don Matteo, funnily enough, about David Batty, because there was a lot spoke about, and I think there was a kind of a suggestion perhaps being made from my man Matteo. I think he's an absolute legend, by the way, and it was just in an afternoon speaking thing, whatever they're called, at dinner where they come and talk. But there was no dinner, just booze. But yeah, he was on one. He's a good lad. But he sort of like suggested that David Batty, in the turmoil years, took his money and sort of pissed off. And then like Alan Smith, who obviously ended up going to Man United and the Leeds United fans really fell out with, took the harder end of the sword with it, or whatever, the sharp end of the sword he took with it. Well, my argument to Matteo was Batty just pissed off into the sunset, didn't he? I have no problem with players taking the money, playing well for the club, and then pissing off and doing more. And that is what he did. Smith, to be honest, I think the whole thing was over-egged. Obviously, I didn't like the fact he went to the club he went to, Man United. He's not a place you want a Leeds United player to be going to, and not one that you think sort of a thoroughbred, as we were speaking about last night, thoroughbreds. But, Batty, whether he took his money or not, never really said anything. He doesn't sponge off the club. He's not doing a Danny Mills where he's on TalkSport and there's he's not the Leeds United correspondent for some reason. Well, basically, the article said that he's called Howard Wilkinson boring in his autobiography, which published in 2001, I might add. Bizarre behaviour, that, basically on the basis that, I thought it was widely known that Howard Wilkinson was a little bit boring. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. But people, not everything has to be a diss. I think Howard Wilkinson would probably admit, yeah, I was a bit boring, the type of football he played. I mean, you guys will be able to attest to it a little bit more than me, as it was just before my time. But, he just planted the seeds, didn't he, for the tree to blossom, and then blossom, so it did. But basically, Batty's back to campaign to get a statue built for Howard Wilkinson, and I think they're hoping to put it in Thorpe Arch. So, I don't really understand why we have to mention that he called Howard Wilkinson boring. The article literally said that he's back to campaign, even though he's labelled Howard Wilkinson as boring. Some of my mates are boring. Do you know what I mean? Some of them are gimps, some of them are goons, some of them are funny, some of them are too much. And you're like, whoa, big lad, you're too much. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know, bizarre behaviour. But looking back, I think he should be proud of the admirable career he had. He was one hell of a player. And I actually think he's underrated. Roy Keane talks about David Batty quite a few times whenever he's mentioned sort of like strong midfielders that he had to play against on the regular. And he always mentions Batty, honest player, won a good pro and played at an unbelievable level. England caps, went to tournaments, sensational, really. And I think the fact that he jacked off into sunset and fucked off into the sunset actually sums him up as a player, really. And plus, we had a life-size cardboard cut out of him in our house, which also looking back on that is probably a little bit of bizarre behaviour. But I also remember my granddad genuinely walking into my house and thinking that it was a guy in his football clobber with, it was like the stereotypical, like, he had his foot on top of ball, it's the cardboard cutout, and he stood there with his foot on top of ball. And my granddad said hello to him. But my granddad was a pretty funny guy in general. I don't know whether he was joking or not, but I'm led to believe that he wasn't really. I was only a kid, but even then I thought, I think you thought for a second there that guy is actually David Batty, or not knowing who David Batty is, just one that lads come round, for a kickabout. But yeah, funny stuff. It's like your mum walking in when we were kids and not on alt dodgy, just when you're playing FIFA and it's literally like asking what score it is and stuff, thinking there's an actual game of football going on. But we digress. That's what the international break's all about, isn't it? Longstaff has been named from The Athletic the 5th best signing of the Premier League season. So how's about that? How's that? The Athletic, the goons at The Athletic, ranked all 155 signings by Premier League sides, and they had Stack ranked at 17th in the league, and they had Longstaff at 94. What the fuck, man? Well, they reviewed it, and he's now 5th. Now, I'm happy for him to climb up to 5th, and I think it's a fair assessment. There's Ekatike, players like that in there. Some good players, obviously, in there. But to have Stack at 17th in the first place, this is what I'm saying about when new players just come to the league. Everybody can't help it. They go, right, Stack's 17th, fine. Stack's been a brilliant signing. I'm not sure he'd be ranked 17th, the best in the Premier League signing this year. But if he is, he is. I mean, it's astounding that there's 155 players been signed for a start. But if he's 17th, how is Longstaff starting at 94? The quote goes, he has massively exceeded expectation and becoming a figurehead of Leeds' side. Got a goal and an assist against Bournemouth, has brought stability and dynamism in midfield, plus offers good set-piece deliveries, and he suits Leeds' physical approach. The second best tackler in the league so far, and because he's won 15 challenges. Very good. Well, he hasn't massively exceeded my expectations. I understand it's not sex on legs, is it? It's not sexy business. It's not like, we can't get an add-on for people like Sean Longstaff for some reason, but we have to with Anton Stack, who is the same player, just less proven at the level. He's exceeded expectations and become a figurehead of Leeds' side. He hasn't exceeded my expectations. Got a goal and assist against Bournemouth, has brought stability and dynamism in midfield and delivers good set pieces and suits our physical approach. The only bit I could stipulate on that is offers good set pieces, good set piece deliveries. He certainly has done. He's been excellent on every single set piece he's taken for us. That's the only thing that I'd go like, yeah, Longstaff, yeah. But I'd assume, if to be honest, when he turned up, I'd go, I bet he can clip a corner. And I've been banging on about corners since Godra lad, ever since we couldn't take them 3 or 4 years ago when we were shit at defending them and we were shit at attacking them. I just thought, just clip the ball into the box, and that is what Longstaff does. Just puts it in a nice area and gives the defender an opportunity to win the header. I would have imagined he'd been able to do that. Got a goal and an assist against Bournemouth. I said he'd chip in, and you know it. Has brought stability and dynamism into the midfield. He does that in the Newcastle midfield. We've got they're all having a debate about who's better now, and it was dropped on Overlap yesterday that, Paul Scholes thinks Tonali and stuff, and Tonali's a beast of a player. I said when he came to Ellen Road, you could see it literally in every sense. He was a beast, a lot bigger than I anticipated. He was awesome on the ball. He always has been. But if we're talking about Tonali's one of the three that are keeping Longstaff out of the Newcastle side. That's why he's here. The bloke's an absolute steal. I fucking love him. I love him. Get up. So he's 5th in leagues, 5th best signing at leagues, 5th best player in league. Fuck that signing shit. 155 signings is mad, isn't it? To have him ranked, what they have him ranked? 94 out of 155. What a signing for a promoted club. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk about Tanaka. I think it's a little bit too keen. I also think it potentially comes from a place of hurt that Farke has actually picked a very strong side each and every week, barring Arsenal, where he picked a strong side, but we were just shit and we've been really competitive. There's talks that he's on about his playing time and stuff. I think he's more than well aware that he's just come back from injury. They go away on international duty, don't they? They have interviews and they get asked about stuff, and then it all gets blown out. It all gets blown out of proportion for me. But Longstaff, again, for me, is not the one currently keeping Tanaka out the side. it'd be Stack for me that's keeping Tanaka out the side at the moment, and I think Tanaka would be better in that role anyway. I think Stack and Tanaka are good together, but I think Longstaff and Tanaka, I think that's the new partnership. I think I would remain with Stack and Longstaff and Ampadu, just basically on the basis that we're so strong in there, and Stack is a big fella, isn't he? And I'm not saying Tanaka isn't a physical man, and he's good, but he's definitely more of a ball player, and I think he's got the ability to change games when he comes on. And, and that's not from a place of where you don't start your best players, because I've never really understood you want options off the bench, don't you? But you want your best players on the pitch, really. You don't want to go, well, we're not starting. When they did that thing with Parisli last year, it's like, oh, no, but he gets goals off at bench. It's like, yeah, but he also get goals if we start him, so just start him. But with Tanaka, you've got the option, haven't you? Because Stack and Longstaff really set the game up really well, and they do have the ability also to get you into a lead or get you back from a 1-0 deficit, which we have been doing. But then Tanaka comes on and he can bring something a little bit different, can't he? And we might not need him, do you know what I mean, in certain games. But the idea that he's looking for game time and he'll be off, it's like he does need to prove his worth himself. So this idea, I don't think he'll be living in, delusions of grandeur or whatever, or, he'll be delusional himself where he thinks he could go get a Premier League side, a Premier League move. I think there'd be plenty of takers for Tanaka, but I think he'd be far better placed, just to wait for his opportunity, which he will undoubtedly get. There's been a lot said about Chris Wood for some reason. I don't, it's good flowing around Twitter. I don't know why anybody thinks we'd be able to sign him, or people asking if they think that'd be a good signing or not. That'd be a wild signing in January, wouldn't it? Let's have it right. He's been amazing. He's still got 2 goals this season for Forest, and they've been poor this year, haven't they, as we all know. But obviously with Big Ange at the helm, you never know. But Chris Wood's going to struggle to press in all that stuff for Big Ange, but I think he'll be gone in 2 games anyway, will Big Ange. That serial winner. You take Chris Wood back, wouldn't you? We've got our own Chris Wood up top, haven't we? Calvert-Lewin. He's boasting at nearly 3 XG, which proves to you that, the XG doesn't really mean all. But what it does prove is that Calvert-Lewin's getting plenty of opportunities. So this idea we can't get goals or not creating chances to score goals is disingenuous. Tyler Adams has had his words about returning to Ellen Road. I knew this of him anyway. I said that's why I wasn't really 100% certain that I wanted to get behind the booing of him, and that I did in the end anyway. I just thought, tough luck, fuck it. I'm used to kicking buckets, I'm used to picking up shit from the general public, but I just thought, get stuck with it. But he said there's something about it I absolutely love. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just being back there, but you have to think 35,000 people in a stadium cheering against you. Like I'm from Wappingers Falls, wherever the fuck that is. I don't know if there are 35,000 people in Wappingers Falls that had the energy to cheer against me. I don't know if there are 35,000 people in Wappington Falls. That's what he's saying. And we all had the energy to cheer against him, and he said, "I love that," which we knew of him. The bloke loves the limelight. You can tell that's where the bit of the shit housery comes from and stuff. But shit is as shit does. Take it easy, everybody. We'll drop a shit vid tomorrow. Obviously, no more football for a week. Gives us a little bit of time up to get some players back from injury and go from there. Shout out to Sean Rooney, Ming, Roller Blunt, CH, Pat Dunn, Mark Bradley, legendary MVG. He's got them £1 million puppies, them proper pedigree puppies. Solanum Lineanum, Nick Ahmed, 78 RPM, and BMG for no reason at all. In a bit, everybody. Shout out to Mimi and Roller Blunt, because I don't think I said Mimi. I think I've just said Roller Blunt, so apologies. Take it easy.
I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you, I know to me, that's just the way it is.
Boom.